There are rumors that the Panasonic Lumix GH7 will be announced on the 5th of June, and apparently it's going to have a new audio adapter. So instead of the DMW-XLR1, you'll have a new adapter, and that will let you record 32-bit audio to the camera. And there are a few more features that's rumored that the camera will have, and one of them is real-time LUT. The other one is phase detect autofocus and additional recording formats for OpenGate. And apparently it will also have the same form factor as the G9 Mark II. So I think if I didn't have the Panasonic Lumix GH6 already, maybe the new version would be good, but I don't see any significant advantages in buying the GH7 based on the rumored spec. And I think also everything is not just about spec. There's like certain areas that the camera manufacturers seem to be ignoring. For example, usability, ergonomics, and the menu system. And I think these areas to me are more important than, for example, 32-bit audio. Because even though 32-bit audio sounds good on a spec sheet, in reality, you actually have to do a lot more work to get that audio to become ready for the video output. So it's not like you can just record 32-bit audio and just start using it. So even if I do have 32-bit audio, I will still be using 16-bit or 24-bit audio. And to give more credibility to the GH7 rumors, there seems to be a discontinuation of the GH6 on various camera shops and websites, or there's limited stock, or they've been going on sales. So that further verifies that on the 5th of June, we should be expecting a new camera which will replace the GH6. Sirui has joined the Micro Four Thirds Systems standard group, so hopefully we'll see more Micro Four Third lenses from them. And Sirui typically only creates cinema lenses, which typically don't have electronics in them, so there will be no electronic adjustment of the focus or zooming or the aperture. But it would be interesting once they start releasing Micro Four Third lenses to see what they actually release. So it might be just the same lenses they have, but with a Micro Four Thirds mount. OM System announced a new petal lens hood for the 9 to 18mm lens. And to my memory, this is a new lens hood. It didn't exist previously. So previously, when I bought the 9 to 18mm lens, I had a lens hood which is somewhat square. And to be honest, I prefer the square lens hood, particularly with this lens, because the flare on this lens and the ghosting is really bad. So if I have the choice, I would prefer to have the square lens hood as opposed to the petal flower shaped lens hood, which should allow in a little bit more light. Although I don't know whether the new version of this lens, which I don't have, I have the original version of the 9 to 18mm, maybe they've rectified the issues with flaring and ghosting, because it could be the exact same lens design, but if they have changed the coating that they use on these layers of glass, then you would have less flare and ghosting issues. So that might not be an issue on the new lens. Maybe if someone has that lens, they can leave a comment and say what their experience is in terms of ghosting and flares on the newer version of this lens. OM System has partnered for a new project called Hakonature, and the idea is that they provide people with cameras, and people will go on hikes and take pictures in this place in Japan. And the project is sponsored by an electric railway company. So the idea is that people take pictures, the pictures are shared, and when people see what a beautiful place it is, they will buy the rail tickets to travel to this place, and then it gradually creates a tourism industry for that place, and as a result, the rail company will benefit from it. The M.Zuiko 90mm f3.5 macro lens has won the 2024 Technology Award from the Society of Photography and Imaging of Japan. And that lens was always recognized as a good lens in terms of its reach and magnification level, but also in terms of its sharpness and capabilities to take pictures. Panasonic has filed patents for a new box camera, and I'm hoping this is a Micro Four Third camera, although it might come out in both Micro Four Third and full frame sensor with the L mount as well. But we'll see once it's closer to release. But at the point where Panasonic actually files these patents and they become publicly available, it's not too far from the actual announcement of the camera itself. So if we look at the images of this camera, you can see that it has a flip screen, which is disappointing in my opinion, because typically on the left-hand side of the camera, I would like to have all the different ports. So that makes the LCD screen unusable on the left side. So I would prefer it to have where it can just tilt upwards, but also tilt downwards, because if some cameras, such as the GH6, I can't tilt the LCD screen downwards. So if I put it on a really high up tall tripod, I can't tilt the screen downwards unless I open it to the side. But because I have HDMI cables, USB cables, microphone and headphone cables going in there, I can't really do that neither. So it's quite awkward. I think when it comes to videography, there's no point of having a flip screen. But if you have an opinion on this, you can also share your opinion. But in my experience, the difficulty that it creates with having the cables and ports on the left-hand side of the camera relative to advantages that has is not worth it. And I would rather have a tilt screen that can just tilt upwards and downwards. Or what would have been even better is if the screen was at the top in front. So I think some people created a modification for a Blackmagic camera where they actually did that, created a screen that connects to the camera. And that's not via HDMI, via the normal connection of the screen. So you'd have the screen in front of the camera just above the lens mount. And then on the right-hand side, you have a detachable grip, which I think is really nice, because a lot of the time with normal cameras, the grip is fixed at a particular position. Whereas I think there was some Sharp cameras as well as some Canon cameras. I can't remember the model numbers. It might have been XC100 and XC150. I can't remember the exact model number, but there was some Canon cameras where you could actually twist the grip on the right hand side. And I think that's really nice because sometimes the natural position of your hand sits in a way where you want to just adjust the grip to an angle. And also this leaves room for third-party manufacturers to create different handles for it. And this is just the same picture, I guess, from different angle. And you can see that it has a anti-rotation hole there, as well as the 1/4" 20. And these look like either buttons or they could be LEDs as well. And it has a cooling fan, which is obviously necessary for any camera that should be running for a long time. And 3 buttons on the front. And here you see a little bit more about the actual grip itself. So that looks like 2 1/4" 20s. And that looks like a connection type of some sort. It could be USB-C, it could be something else. And that seems like the dial to actually turn these screws and tighten them. That looks like room for an additional battery. That's actually interesting. If you have 2 batteries, one in the grip and one on the back of the camera, or maybe there is no alternative battery in the box camera and you just have to power it externally. And external writing to the SSD. So there's what looks like a USB-C port going into the external hard disk on the top. And I haven't made up my mind whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, because if the grip is on the right-hand side of the box camera, then I think my finger could potentially hit this cable quite frequently, particularly my thumb, if I'm moving it to press these buttons. And it seems like the USB-C can also be used to connect the microphone, which potentially could add some delay to the timing of the audio, depending on how the camera is being used. For example, in a streaming mode, that might be an issue, whereas if you're just recording, then I guess the camera would compensate for that.